Today's matchup. Dark. Stats. Ryung. GuMiho.
Yo, 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 we're back here at the GSL. We just saw a very cheesy and short PVZ. Fingers crossed we have a little bit more of a drawn-out, dramatic TVT moving forward.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before we went on break, but I am a little sad that Dark went for 2 Nidus Canals and a proxy hatchery to defeat Stats there in a very quick first match because, you know, Stats is its first games back here at the GSL Codas.
Yeah. The disrespect.
Yeah, it did feel disrespectful.
He's like, you don't know how to play the game, and just cheeses him out 3 times.
Yeah, when, oh, that's us.
It's a magic trick where we turn into 3 handsome Korean men for a second.
Yeah, I imagine, I don't want to read too much into this, but I imagine that this is probably a situation where, you know, Dark has probably played against Stats on the ladder enough in the past couple of weeks to know that he isn't quite where he needs to be to hang with the likes of, like, one of the best Zerg players in the world right now.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, the way that Stats plays, it's like he's carefully, like, getting all his little building blocks. It's like he's parking all of his his toy cars and lining them up perfectly.
He's got like that mat that we all had as a kid.
Yeah,
he's like parking on a little carpet.
Parking his little cars, and then Dark just comes and knocks it all over. But you know, it takes a little while to kind of get everything set up and get that macro style going. And Dark just, you know, with a stake to the heart, took it out.
Yeah, it's got to be airtight to really pull off a style that Stats kind of wants to play in. So,
Ryung is really ahead of the game here as far as the room play goes.
He's like, I'm not going to give these guys an opportunity.
You'll never know what my room looks like, Tasteless.
I know what's going to happen here.
But I'll tell you what, I don't see blurred art on those walls. And GuMiho is in a cyberpunk city.
All right, this is pretty sick, actually, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Although, you might want to work out some of the chroma key on that green screen. It's a little shaky. Wait a minute.
Just a little bit.
Maybe he's not in a purple neon city. Maybe that's just a background.
You got to get the GSL production staff to help him out a little bit.
Yeah, we got to help him out.
Put him in chains like they put us in chains.
That's right. Now, there's a neon sign behind him, but I don't know if we're ever going to see what it says.
Yeah, I wish we could.
Now, you might not believe this, but these are actually not real chains behind us. This is also a green screen that we're at.
The chroma keying here, though, is top tier. Much better.
Yes.
Much better than we're seeing here from some of our
We are
players.
pros down here. Yeah. But I like the I like what GuMiho did there. This is cool.
Yeah, it would be cool to, God, can you imagine just like getting like StarCraft 2 like box art like behind you? There's like cinematics playing as your backdrop.
There's like a carrier and a Templar flying around. It's actually not a bad idea.
It's like that pylon like warping in like the pro warping in the pylon and the legacy of the void cinematic.
Yeah.
Still one of the best cinematics in gaming history of all time. And I got emotional watching a pro warp on a pylon. Like, how does that happen? Yeah. How do you do that?
And the energy around it, I'm like, oh my God, StarCraft is so cool.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to ESL Royal Blood. I just wanted GuMiho to move his head so I could see what the neon sign is behind him. Right now, it looks like he has a neon ear sticking out of his head.
Yeah,
he's got like a third ear. Oh, I saw a little bit more.
What is that? Actually,
is that a coffee cup?
I don't think it's a word. Looking at that,
I don't think so.
No, I guess this is going to be one of those things we have to look out for here in Codas.
We're just never going to know. We're just so many things in this world. We're just never going to get to the bottom of it. This is going to be one of them. But Tasteless, you could just go and ask him. I'm going to forget. I won't remember to do that. This is knowledge that's lost forever.
All right, let's get to it. Ryung versus GuMiho.
Onside Gaming, Ryung.
Wrong. I'm liking the goatee.
It's a good look here.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't think he had that last time I casted his
I don't
games.
think so. The longer hair, too, also seems to suit him. A little bit more chill, a little more cool.
Yeah,
I could see him wearing like a leather jacket with this.
I could see him drinking a $9 coffee with that.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, TVT and SC2, I actually love this matchup. It's so fun. It's a matchup where, you know, Terran itself is sort of inherently glass cannon-ish, because when you get 2 glass cannon armies duking it out, you know, the player with insane reflexes always wins. By the way, GuMiho going for double gas here, as is Ryung.
I think Ryung went for gas before barracks, and then later second gas, GuMiho went for racks and then gas, and then the quicker second gas. This should mostly equalize, so both players playing 2 gas here. in TBT. And, you know, Ryung and GuMiho, two absolute OGs here at the GSL Code S. These guys played, I think, before we even called it Code S. Like, back in, like, 2010. It was like the GSL Open or something to that effect.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. So Ryung, you know, he's been with us, as is GuMiho, forever. It does seem like GuMiho is in a little bit, in general, better shape over the decade plus of StarCraft 2 that we have here.
Yeah, actually did win a GSL Code S, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember when that happened, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, that's cool that GuMiho like finally got one here in like the twilight days of StarCraft 2. Like, that's so cool. Now it's like 6 years later and we're still going, you know?
Yeah.
It's sick. It's almost insane to think that that was like half of StarCraft 2 ago, 6 years.
Yeah, RTS is kind of funny because, like, when you stick with an RTS, it just gets so much better over time and so much more unpacked. And if you don't believe me, go look at the first year of GSL and the garb that was the strategies that people used back then.
Well, the balance also wasn't that great, too, you know?
No.
I mean, 5 racks Reaper in every single TVZ.
Steps of War, Queen rushes. Queens were fast off creep. And
I mean, for that reason, I feel like Fruit Dealer winning the first GSL was like the ultimate. I don't think that will ever be topped.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when you get a tournament with like the perfect story and the first season of GSL where it's like, you know, even his background, he was selling fruit with his family on, you know, out of a truck or on the side of the street, and all the Zergs were not making it, and then he's the Zerg that wins. It's just like, it's too good to be true, you know?
All right, first little engagement coming in here. Ryung getting the better end of the trade so far. Surprised, actually, GuMiho not picking off the Hellion. Okay, finally does get it there with a Reaper, but will cost him his own Reaper. This
is actually a little scary.
Yeah, some SCV's going to get pulled here. One going down here at this natural CC. And
this is about as good as it could have gone right here. I'm just a little bit surprised he actually attacked in, knowing that Hellion's going to be repaired. But getting the SCV, I mean, that's pretty good, just to slow that down. Nothing huge, but, you know, it is a little scuffle that you know, Ryung did come out on top of.
That's a cherry on top of getting that early win.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you have 3 of the same units going head-to-head and you kill 2 of theirs and you keep pretty much everything alive, you're feeling quite good there as Ryung. So Ryung off to a nice start here. We'll see exactly how these players decide to transition. Ryung now adding in a second Cyclone. I think GuMiho might be building his first, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's one Cyclone in the Siege tank here for GuMiho.
Now, we've had a lot of games that actually end on 2 base versus 2 base, you know. This is going to be one of the funny moments where they're both dropping each other. I think this might actually go slightly better for GuMiho because I think he gets there a few seconds earlier. What is actually ready to receive this? I see 2 Marines, which is basically as good as nothing for what's coming at him.
There is a
Cyclone
here
out
for
here.
Ryung,
Okay.
so I don't mind this too much on Ryung's side. I'm a little bit more worried about GuMiho with only a Siege tank, depending on where that one's positioned.
Yeah.
Right, Ryung locking onto the medevac, puts a timer on this as if GuMiho wants to get out of here. Actually loses the Marines, and in the meantime, Ryung coming in with a drop here. I mean, that Siege tank, it's not as versatile as the Cyclone is. Oh, he actually does get it picked off.
That was huge. It seemed like there was just enough damage, like building up, that the tank would die, but he actually saves that at the last second.
I'm surprised Ryung didn't go for the lift there, as both players going to kind of lick their wounds as their drops didn't go exactly to plan. As Ryung is quite brave here going for that low ground CC.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit too cavalier with that. He is actually, that's kind of a funny back and forth. So neither Cyclone's going to be picked off. He's going to get ready up in the main to intercept that if it comes in. GuMiho's going to go back, I think rightfully so. So GuMiho has been more focused on getting tanks, which means he's going to be more focused on an actual push later on, where it seems like Ryung is actually accumulating more Cyclones. I feel like, had you made me guess who was who, I would have thought that the blue player was GuMiho in this game, and Ryung would be the red player. But in fact, it is going to be GuMiho going for a more standard tank push. He's going to go all the way up north, it looks like, and maybe try to actually push into the natural, hoping that the third base is going to be over-defended.
It looks like he's trying to decide exactly how he wants to approach this push, because he does have a good idea that Ryung is going for this low ground CC, as GuMiho now is doing himself. And GuMiho, I think with a 1 Siege tank advantage, is going to try to press that as best he can, but so far for Ryung, I'm liking this from him. Picking off that other SCV. He knows that GuMiho's out on the map now. Scan coming in here at the third base. 2 Ravens on each side. GuMiho's sieging up now. Disables on both the siege
yeah,
tanks here. This is a nice engagement for GuMiho.
Big disables, and the truth is that there's actually enough Marines. Oh, maybe he's not going to kill that tank, in fact.
No, it's barely out of range.
Yeah, but the auto turret will get it. And that's a big victory. Marines are expendable in ways that tanks just are not. I think that actually there's... Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's 2 Vikings on both sides. I thought I saw a third there for a second. But this is a pretty big deal because the command center is going to be forced to lift off. The tank count is still superior right now for GuMiho. I don't think he's actually transferred SCVs to his new base yet, so he should do that pretty soon. But, overall, I mean, this is already looking very good for GuMiho.
Yeah, being able to set up a soft contain like this one is fantastic. And if he's able to maintain air superiority here, that's just going to extend the lifespan here of this push. But, we're so much closer to the rally points of Ryung that this could very much swing the other way, and I like that play there by GuMiho too.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool.
And bringing those Vikings down just in case.
So, I mean, Ryung is in hot water. I mean, it's undeniable. There's a possibility if we get 1 or 2 more tanks over here that, like, you just have enough where you can kind of tiptoe forward. Now, he's going to get this Liberator over here.
Yeah, this is smart.
Yeah, and actually GuMiho pretty slow with a reaction, if I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm sorry, what just happened in the main? Was that a
auto
Raven?
turret?
Okay.
Auto turret was dropped there by a Raven, picked up 4 SCVs. GuMiho, I think, lost 1 siege tank here. Yeah, from 5 down to 4. That Liberator, is that
Can you not just lock on with the Cyclone?
I think it's on cooldown right now. He just tried doing that and then got denied. And all right, engagement coming in. Disable here on a lot of the Vikings for GuMiho. Even armor shredding turn. Armor shredding. We'll see that every day there on Vikings.
Yeah, we've seen it all. Looks like he was switching between what was going to shoot what. It seemed like for a second Ryung was going to break through all of this, and then it kind of crumbled there.
Yeah, this is kind of part of the problem making those Liberators is, yeah, he was able to clear those siege tanks, but that's time that your starport isn't producing Vikings. And the name of the game right now for GuMiho has just been to maintain air superiority because, Ryung, he's not going to be able to breach that position easily unless he's able to take out the Vikings and, force some kind of situation where GuMiho doesn't see the siege tanks as they're closing the distance, because obviously their range is larger than their field of vision. And Ryung's landing that 3rd CC.
A lot of SCVs over there.
Yeah.
That's not the right number, man. That looked like it was a StarCraft 1 expansion with like super saturated workers over there.
Oh, even gets the Vikings trying to land. This is a bad position here for Ryung. I don't know how he's going to break out of this. It looks like the game plan here for him is to try to go for a, it's 3 medevacs, but it really does feel like a 2 medevac drop with how low the bio count is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the main is wide open. He's going to get turrets down here, but that won't prevent the drop from happening. He's going to scan and confirm that this is here.
Yeah, there's just no way for Ryung to break that. That push outside is natural.
Now, with turrets finishing, he might drop 1 medevac as he comes in. No, I guess it's going to be exactly enough time to kind of get everything out.
Yeah, Ryung should still be able to fully unload here, and we'll see what damage he's able to get done. But GuMiho actually with a sizable amount of reinforcements to pull the SCVs, he knows that he can take an unfavorable trade here, and actually picking off the medevacs with even more Vikings being made.
Yeah.
The starport it's working overtime, and this drop's getting cleaned up.
This wasn't the wrong idea, but this also didn't work.
Oh, he's going to try it again.
Yeah. I mean, look, StarCraft games sometimes are really hard to break down, and sometimes they're really easy. This is actually a very easy one to break down. I mean, if he doesn't get a 3rd base in time, he'll just lose, because 3 bases is just better than 2. I mean, there's just not much else to it than that. So he's going to try to come out here. He'll probably land these Vikings, or not.
I think he might just fly away. I mean, the soft contain did its job, and he's another armor shredding. A lot of interesting armor shreds coming through with not a lot of payoff, but GuMiho able to retain the Viking count, and that was nice for Ryung, resetting the siege tanks, but I feel like those tanks, they kind of paid for themselves in the lost mining time that Ryung had. I mean, he's only just now able to saturate that 3rd base. So his main and his natural, they're going to be running really low on minerals, and GuMiho still up, 10 supply, able to keep the pressure on.
So, I mean, the game goes on. Ryung has done a good job. He broke free. I do think GuMiho probably should have tanked the Vikings and dropped them to try to get more damage with the siege tanks, because I think then it would have been a little bit more of an easier attack. Who knows, though? Regardless, there's an orbital over here, a line of tanks. Ryung seems intent on trying to take a fight. We should point out that if Ryung keeps trying to break this third base and it doesn't work, I'm sorry, if GuMiho keeps trying to break Ryung's third base is what I meant to say, and it doesn't work, it's going to be long-term a huge loss for GuMiho, and he basically has played this game out incorrectly.
I think he has to play it kind of slow here. You have air superiority, so just kind of inch forward when you can. Just take it bit by bit. And for Ryung, I mean, the question now that he has the third base is, how is he going to be able to secure that fourth base? Because I guarantee you that main base, that natural expansion, with how many SCVs we're mining from those patches, could be losing saturation even more quickly than GuMiho. And actually hold that thought as Ryung now coming in, decides to break this, actually picks up a lot of the Vikings there, so a bit of an overstep there from GuMiho. And meantime, coming in the main base with a medevac drop, 8 Marines.
Yeah, he's going to do this drop in here right now. And, I mean, this is really just not doing much of anything, to be honest. I'm worried, yeah, GuMiho might have kind of played the wrong game. You know, there's moments where you want to contain, and then there's moments where you have to give up and then go into a little bit of a longer game. And I think the overall tank count, which I don't know exactly what it's at, but I can guarantee you that Ryung has, oh, there it is. I guarantee you Ryung has more.
Yeah,
okay, you know what? No, I take it back though. I thought he had way more tanks than that.
GuMiho's
I thought it was
factory
like,
enjoyer, man.
Yeah, I thought it was like 7 tanks to 2, and it's like 5 to 4. I'm like, oh, well, that's like, you know, whatever.
TVT,
I take it back.
TVZ, TVP, GuMiho loves that second factory. So although he's been losing a lot of tanks, like you're right about that, he's just been producing a ton as well. So he's going to look to catch up in that. And overall, I still like GuMiho's position more, but you're right. It does feel like there have been times where he overextended a little bit. Now, coming in, trying to pick up a couple more Marines. It's a nice trade there for GuMiho. He's trying to compound on the lead that he has, but I do think that Ryung has some play here if he's able to get a fourth base up and start to solidify his position back at home. And he's actually looking to get kind of aggressive, but that's a lot of Marines here for GuMiho.
Yeah.
That's a big army.
Yeah, he was ready to catch that for sure. He intercepts that. Even though this game has been close, it is still GuMiho just slightly ahead. His fourth base is going to finish at 6 o'clock. Ryung really, for the first time in this whole game, actually active on the map. I mean, he was basically getting beaten up and isolated for a lot of this, but it seems like he's hungry to come out now.
Yeah, the past couple of trades going Ryung's way has given him a lot of breathing room as he actually has an army supply lead right now.
There is an upgrade on the siege tanks here for GuMiho, and I don't believe Ryung has that yet. They're both going around each other, which usually means this is going to be a base trade.
Ooh.
And oh my God! All right,
big siege tank hits though. That's a lot of Marines coming down here, and I think you're right, Stasis. We're gonna have another base trade as GuMiho just going full force here into the natural expansion of Ryung.
I think GuMiho's gonna win this.
He might, but look at the siege tank counts right now. GuMiho's got completely reset all the way down to 1.
True.
Only has about 20 more Marines. A lot of those are gonna die here. Push as Ryung pushes up the map, but yeah, you know what? I think you might be right.
I think the problem is that there are more command centers that can float away here. And the way that GuMiho came in with a base trade, he basically massacred every single SCV. Like, I'm seeing there's 4 workers now.
Look at the Marine counts.
Yeah.
Almost double right now. Actually, more than double here for GuMiho as he just continues to compound that lead. And Ryung's going to give his best shot, but this just did not shake out the way that he was hoping for. And I think from here, if you're Ryung, I mean, this is the GSL Codas. You're going to play for the win, and if you can't play for the win, play for the tie here as a Terran player. But I don't think that's going to work against GuMiho. GuMiho's army is just too big. And, oh my goodness, +3 is actually going to finish.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But I think that this ship has sailed. You know, there's enough resources available here and enough SCVs in the game for GuMiho that he can just basically bide his time. He's just going to repair this and try to, you know, save up what he can. And I think we're going to be going into game 2 momentarily here. I got to say, GuMiho, kind of an impressive response to this whole situation. I mean, really good instinct on his part to identify, like, no, I can actually just cut right through here. And it was not just that he base traded first, it's the way he did it. He made sure to wipe SCVs along the way. And GuMiho basically can create opportunities for himself in ways that Ryung can literally only fight for a draw at this point in time.
Yeah, and if Ryung had complete information, I think he probably would be tapping out right now. But as it is, I mean, you're playing in the game. You don't know.
Okay, I lied. I was wrong. Actually, there's one command center that's going to land over here.
Oh,
so
is there?
So he could mine resources. I thought he killed all the command centers, but you guys get the idea.
Yeah, it's still the same case,
yeah.
Right? Where GuMiho was able to actually navigate this successfully. And
whoa.
He's gonna pull back after those first couple of
That was a really bad A move, by the way. It's like, keep your infantry together. He has like 2 control groups, like, oh, that's so funny.
That's kind of an interesting situation. I mean, it makes sense for GuMiho to kind of like split up these groups of Marines because he knows that he is literally twice the Marine count as Ryung. So the worst case scenario is, you know, you trade evenly and then you just have Marines and they only have tanks. It's really I mean, if Ryung's able to get some Hail Mary play where he's able to get like the most insane siege tank shots of all time, like maybe Ryung's like mouse becomes unplugged or something and he can't micro them back. Or GuMiho's mouse, excuse me.
Maybe his house is hit by a meteor, like who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Ryung's going to continue to inch his way forward, but looking at the minimap, there are 3 orbitals currently stationed here for GuMiho, so a lot of mining going down,
the thing
1,600 minerals.
Yeah, he's got the right idea, too, with all these factories. Basically, like, Ryung could, like, leapfrog siege tanks up to that position, but you could literally just relocate your command center even faster.
Yeah.
We don't have any resources coming in right now for Ryung. He keeps getting spotted. Now, there's 4... Hold on, are these? Oh yeah, he's actually gonna come up here and hit these factories. So this game might continue on.
Yeah, the one thing that Ryung does have going for him is if he tries to entrench in a position, GuMiho can't really break it. I mean, 5 siege tanks plus all these Marines actually will hold off a pure Marine force here.
Okay, so does he get this in the red?
No, I don't think so. Actually, moving down to the natural, he does.
I think he does. So remember that if the buildings just burn down, you win.
Yeah, there's going to be only 1 command center left for Ryung after this.
Okay, so that's gone.
Yeah.
Unless he lands that with a mule or something and repairs it.
I'm surprised he hasn't lifted the command center that he has over here.
And that means there's only 1 building in the far left, right?
Looks like it. Such a weird game.
Yeah. So
oftentimes when we get base trades like this, it's a lot more cut and dry for the players, and they can kind of know when to call it. But
I mean, I think basically GuMiho's like, all right, this game is his problem, like Ryung's problem to figure out. Because, like, tanks, when they're not sieged up, Marines will just shred them.
Yeah.
If you notice, he's actually using 1 medevac always as a spotter to lead.
So this is one of GuMiho's last 2 remaining command centers down here, and it does get taken out. So GuMiho now on 1 CC. Oh, he does have that one in the corner. Okay, thank you, observer who can't hear me pointing out that I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're all having the same thoughts.
But he's producing units again. You know, he's
yeah.
He was for at least a moment not supply capped.
Yeah, he's supply blocked now.
I gotta say, Ryung is moving around the map very well.
He's pretty scary, honestly.
Given the circumstances.
The danger is going to be, now that there's 1 tank out, you can't engage with that without taking damage. Obviously, there are more tanks right now.
GuMiho's so smart.
Yeah.
Lifts the barracks so that he doesn't get
spot.
Vision.
Yeah. And I guess he wants to try to sandwich this.
Yeah, I think that should be winning for GuMiho. He's probably waiting for Ryung to try to breach. All right. Ryung coming in now, sieging forward with these tanks. A lot of them already falling, and it feels like GuMiho, with his overwhelming numbers, are finally going to call the game.
GG.
Yeah, and I mean, props to Ryung for playing it out. I mean, he didn't have the complete picture that we do. I mean, we have the bird's eye view here. We know absolutely everything that's going on the map. So Ryung going to do his best to fight for his life, but GuMiho getting the better end of the base trade will be winning game number 1 here in this best of 3.
That was a fun ending.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, like, the base trade, the instinct there from GuMiho is too good. Again, it's the way that he moved through the base. He made sure he killed off all the SCVs at the 3rd, got to the natural, killed... Actually, I think he might have... No, he did kill the SCVs at the natural. And then he just made sure he's on top of exactly all the infrastructure. And you know, it was more Marines for GuMiho, whereas Ryung had like Marines and tanks. But the thing is, Marines and tanks are nowhere near as fast as just a ton of Marines.
And you need to be sieged in case your opponent comes in for an engagement. Otherwise, you just get completely wiped.
So we saw all of the buildings inside the main base get destroyed. And from there, it's like, you know, you just don't have opportunities. And that's what we saw. We saw Ryung doing actually a really good job of roaming and trying to wipe things out. But like, GuMiho had like, you know, so many command centers. He was mining. He got buildings up. And the best that Ryung could fight for is a draw, which I think in my career I've only had 1 draw that I've casted in a TVT.
I feel like we should have.
That.
Oh, in a TVT.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have had more draws in GSL. There are often situations where Terran players can't get draws, and they actually
I feel like you'll encounter these moments more like a ladder game, where it's like, you know, one player's not strong enough to really force a win. Anyways, guys, we're going to go to Babylon now for map 2.
On-site gaming, Ryung. GuMiho.
I just noticed the flying cars around him, too.
Yeah. I wonder if those are full of Marines or not. So, yeah, let's see what happens here in Game 2. Ryung, I think, overall playing a bit of a stronger TBT. I do think he kind of overdid trying to end that on 2 bases.
Ryung, you mean?
I'm sorry.
GuMiho.
GuMiho trying to just keep Ryung on 2 bases.
Yeah, he definitely had a little bit more of an advantage, and then he maybe overplayed that a bit.
Yeah.
And Ryung had some more play, but even then, GuMiho was still in a good position. He was able to navigate it to a victory, but I like that idea for him going for the soft contain.
Yeah, let's talk about that term, actually, because it's like a really good term to know, but like a lot of people just, you know, they might not be able to explain what it is, but hard contain versus soft contain. A soft contain is like one where you don't have to commit to it. You're not investing. And a good way to tell if it's a hard contain is like the sensor towers and turrets, bunkers, you know.
He was like Vikings patrolling the edges of the map so your medevacs can't leave.
Yeah, like this is a committed contain, and you're actually investing in the contain to the point where like, and you, by the way, it's not just TBT, it's in other matchups as well. The hard contain is like, this is it. I'm trying to like entomb you in your base. And I'm going to hinge the game on that. Where a soft contain is you might set up a position where it's like hard to take the third, and then you can like unsiege and leave it, and you're not losing anything by abandoning the position.
It's easy to disengage from it. That's actually a good point. You know, we almost never see hard contain type play. At the
It's
top
more of a
level
StarCraft 1 thing. It's more of a StarCraft 1. I don't know why that is, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm trying to think of a StarCraft 2 game where we see more hard contains. And I don't.
That's a fun line of thought to go down.
Yeah, because I feel like I've almost never said hard contain in StarCraft 2.
I know. When you started talking about hard contain and soft contain, I'm like, wait, Tasis, there's another kind of contain.
Yeah. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? I'm
like, surely there is.
It does happen. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like a good example is like in StarCraft 1, you'll see these games. It's not that common, but you'll see the Zerg make a hatchery outside the Protoss's natural, and just like make lurkers and sunks.
Oh, weird.
And just like drag the game out where it's like, you know, if you can't bust out, then you're gonna run out of minerals and just lose the game.
Yeah. I think hard contain might have been something. I mean, no games immediately come to mind, but it might have been something we saw a little bit more in the early days of StarCraft 2 when bases mined out much more slowly. It was a little bit more similar to StarCraft 1.
And I think also when StarCraft 2 first came out, people didn't know how to play the game correctly, I think, so they were just kind of importing these ideas from StarCraft 1.
Oh yeah, we were bad. We were really bad when StarCraft 2 came out.
Look at that mine in the grass. Did you see that?
I did see that.
So well hidden. You got to mow that. Or you gonna mow that grass, man.
No, you don't mow the grass. You want to hide it.
That's true. Well, if I was playing against this guy, I'd make sure that this map was get a John Deere on this map and clean this grass up. I'm going to die of widow mines.
One of those like homeowners associations or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
No, actually, GuMiho.
You're going to get a letter.
Actually, GuMiho.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, everything's pretty standard, pretty cookie cutter here. TBT opening, both players going for gas expands. GuMiho right now going for the Raven and the Siege Tank. I think it was Ryung actually opting for the Cyclone. So kind of similar to the previous map with Ryung favoring Cyclones a little bit more than GuMiho is overall, which just kind of feels a little odd. You know, I think of the Cyclone, I kind of think of GuMiho more than a lot of other Terrans as like one of his units, you know? But I guess it's just the approach that GuMiho has been comfortable with here in TBT.
Yeah, like in this game, I hope we have another good one like the last one. That was actually a fun one because it was very technical early on, and then we had kind of the cool base trade that is, I guess, the high point of TBT really is when you start to have games like this.
Yeah, they can get really crazy sometimes.
Yeah. So, you know, in this game, it's we haven't really gotten to the point where anything has developed or happened yet. They're both being pretty passive. We do have Ryung a little bit more outside the map. It looks like he might be ready to try something out here. We do have that Widow Mine hidden, and I think it's actually going to intercept this Hellion right here.
Yeah, nice little catch there with the Widow Mine. Trading that out for a Hellion and also getting scouting. Knows that Ryung is opting for this aggression. I think actually even the Raven got spotted there by the Reapers, so a lot of things going GuMiho's way here. He's able to zone that one out. with the Marines. And they just retreat back safely. Actually, 3 Ravens in total here for GuMiho. A lot of Ravens.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, we only have the 1 here for Ryung.
I think that's correct, yeah. Well, it seems like... well,
there is the second one here.
Now we're going to have Vikings come out here for GuMiho. And, you know, nobody willing to take a third base just yet. Not that they should, but it looks like we may end up with a clash here right in the middle of the map.
Yeah, might be how this one goes down.
Okay, there is going to be a third base here being taken by Ryung.
All right, GuMiho gets the first siege off. See the disables come in. Both sides getting disabled. Actually, Ryung, excuse me.
Such a funny interaction. They both just disable tanks, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, for a second, I only saw the first 2 tanks there for GuMiho, and I thought that was it, but no, Ryung's gonna get the better end of this trade.
Yeah, Ryung handled that very well, especially with that Cyclone. And now GuMiho is like backing up, but I like this for Ryung. He started his third command center a little bit quicker. He's already killed off one of GuMiho's tanks. And I mean, so far so good. I feel like this is a much better performance from Ryung overall.
Yeah, Ryung definitely off to a better start here, especially after that last engagement there in the middle of the map. And I'm curious to see what the Viking count is right now, because it seems to me so far that both players have just been pumping Vikings, and that air superiority comes so clutch here. Okay, it's 4-4. For a moment there, I thought Ryung might actually have an advantage, but in fact, we are dead even in that. GuMiho, with those 3 Ravens, might be able to leverage some disables to eke out an advantage later in the game, but we'll have to see how that happens. With the disable ability now in StarCraft 2, I mean, I say now, but it's been around for a long time. It kind of complicates things quite a bit in these TVT battles.
We're going to see Ryung actually come in here, and he might be able to tear these rocks down. Oh, he actually might want to leverage the position behind the rocks, excuse me.
Disabling a Raven.
Yeah, the Viking fight is clearly going to be won over here by Ryung. This is actually pretty big. More Vikings are going to come up. I still think that Ryung has more firepower.
Yeah, Ryung also picked off, I think, at least 1 siege tank there from GuMiho that was a little bit overextended. So a lot of these trades going Ryung's way is in kind of a role reversal from the previous map. It seems like Ryung is going to be the one trying to set up a contain, and GuMiho is going to do everything in his power to prevent him from sieging in range of that command center.
Now,
is he going to forfeit the position?
Ryung only just transferred SCVs. I want to point this out at his third base, so he was a little bit late on that. He's going to siege up over here. I don't think that GuMiho can use this base. I think GuMiho's kind of in the position that Ryung was in earlier, only maybe it's even a little bit worse. So GuMiho's going to go around.
Whoa. This is kind of a crazy play here from GuMiho.
This is a really weird position. Oh my.
And he's building a 4th command center behind this. These Vikings are going to get caught out here. Auto turrets.
That might actually cost him the game.
Trying to defend a little bit, but that's only 5 tanks?
It's like 5 tanks and a Marine. Oh, and an SCV.
It's an SCV.
Sorry, not a Marine.
This is a wild sequence of events.
The problem is these tanks can't get back home if they get caught.
Oh, no.
And he's going to push up here. I didn't expect the base trade. I thought he was going to come back and like try to take this out. So this is like a really weird interaction. I'm not even sure where this game goes from here.
Well, that actually went quite well.
This is better for GuMiho, I think.
Yeah, that actually went in GuMiho's favor somehow. Ryung trying to push up the ramp. I guess did not expect GuMiho to have so much. And look at this battle. We have SCVs fully surrounding Vikings and siege tanks in.
Well, now GuMiho's going to lose so many workers. This is like 30 SCVs plus killed.
Yeah, this is kind of insane.
Okay, I don't know how to cast this. I'm not sure what's happening. So he lost all those workers, but I think now GuMiho has a better army.
This is like a mech game now for GuMiho. He is.
Yeah. And so maybe he can actually vault across the map.
He's got 10 tanks and 4 Vikings. That's his entire army. Besides that, he has SCVs. This is crazy. And yeah, he did lose a lot of SCVs, though they're going for the surround, but he was able to kill off a good part of Ryung's army. And on top of it, he does have that 4th command center now. So we'll see what he's able to make do with this. The Ritter now coming in, able to get more SCVs picked off.
I guess the question is, can GuMiho actually just come inside and clobber Ryung and maybe just end the game?
He does have a superior Viking count, and I mean, this is a lot of siege tanks. I mean, a lot of siege tanks. We might get kind of
ooh, that's bad. That's bad. Oh no! What is he doing? A misclick. Oh no!
He needed those.
Oh, that was so bad.
GuMiho desperately needed those Vikings to actually get vision. I mean, without the Vikings, it's so hard to hold on to that defensive front you have there, and that was one of his key advantages. It is now Ryung with his superior mobility is going to be creating all sorts of problems here for GuMiho. GuMiho going to try to evacuate the 3rd base, but nowhere really for these SCVs to run. Ryung actually opting to take down the orbital command center. I think he will pick this one off, and that's
GG.
going to be
All right.
it.
Very poor performance there from GuMiho. A lot went wrong. You know it's not good when you've got, like, you're losing your third and you have 4 or 5 tanks on the map, like, roaming. It doesn't look right when you just see tanks. You're like, well, this isn't the whole picture.
That was chaotic, and that did not really go GuMiho's way. It seems like Ryung is trying to process exactly how that went.
Well, it was a very confusing game, to be honest. Like, there were so many weird moments back there where it's like,
I gotta say, I like the decision there by GuMiho to go for that counterattack with the siege tanks, because it felt like it kind of put the pressure there on Ryung, where Ryung, it almost seemed like he lost the thread of exactly where the game was heading, and he overcommitted with that attack up the ramp of GuMiho and lost a big chunk of his army, and then the SCV surround came in, Vikings landed, and a lot of the key units there got reset for Ryung, and so it seemed like GuMiho, with a pure mech army of siege tanks and Vikings, might actually be able to set up a soft contain, but, I mean, losing the Vikings like that and then the counterattack back at home, I mean, you have no mobility. You can't really... There's a reason we don't really see mech in TVT in general, and I don't even know if mech was GuMiho's plan coming into that game or if that's just kind of the way it went, considering...
Well, he's like the one guy that's still doing mech, but not doing, I guess, the classic style of mech. He has, like, a more mobile style. Really, that one didn't even look like GuMiho being GuMiho back there. That was a very obtuse game. But now we're going to go to map 3 on Dragon Scales.
We have some great map names here in StarCraft too, man.
Scales from what? A dragon! All right, guys, let's go.
On-site gaming, Ryung.
Some interesting games in this series, gotta say.
Yeah, I do love TVT, but this has been pretty crazy TVT so far with these two.
GuMiho.
I always feel like the announcer's like gonna say more.
Yeah.
Like, GuMiho.
GuMiho. It's like a sad robot too.
Disappointed,
robot,
disappointed with his performance in game 2
we had to
there.
tell the robot that we downsized the number of players in the tournament. He's like, oh, why was I programmed to feel pain? Like, so
all right, mirrored openings again here for GuMiho and Ryung. It seems like they kind of have a similar idea generally of how the early game of TVT should look like.
Yeah.
There hasn't been too much divergence. Occasionally we'll see one player, you know, make one Cyclone instead of one Siege Tank, or make one more Raven than the other guy, but so far it's been quite mirrored up until we really get to the army composition defining stage. You know, once that starport completes and we kind of see exactly what everyone's game plan is in terms of how they're going to apply pressure, whether they're going to go for soft contains or harassment. And it's been a fun one so far. You know,
it's
TVT,
been good.
It still feels like I've casted a good number of TVTs now, but it still feels like the matchup that's the hardest for me to wrap my head around in terms of how players are eking out advantages. Because, as you said, it's kind of like these two glass cannons going against each other, and things can get so weird in a hurry.
Yeah, no, things can really heat up right away.
It's the kind of thing that I feel like you either have to watch a ton of TVTs or actually play a lot of TVTs to really get a good read on the situation.
It can be very difficult. In fact, there was a period where I was struggling trying to call who's going to win fights, so I just stopped. I'm like, I'm just going to try to figure out a way to play-by-play this because it's, you know.
At least like TVZ, it feels intuitive, even as a Protoss player, because the way that the units interact, you know, there's a dynamic to it, and you can kind of follow exactly the way that things are building up. But
well,
TVZ
also, a lot's dependent on, like, did they target with the tanks in time or did they not, you know?
Yeah, so.
I remember I was, excuse me, I had this conversation, this is like 15 years ago, but this guy made this point that, like, always stuck with me. There's this other guy I used to play StarCraft with, and it was just like, it's a game about priority. It's not a game about doing everything, because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Like, you have to figure out, like, what matters. And that's why, like, sometimes you look at fights and it's like, oh, I thought this guy was going to win. Well, he wasn't even, his screen wasn't even over that. You know what I mean? Like, it's, and you know, the very best players like Maru or Flash or those guys, it's like, they just know what is actually the most important thing that's happening in the game in that moment. And then they also know exactly what's not important enough to not even focus on at all. Or, like, set units up or buildings up in a position where it's like, well, they'll figure it out on their own, you know?
Yeah, and this is something that's true across all RTS, and I feel like it's one of the hardest things for beginners to really understand if you're new to the genre and just trying to get into like StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2 or any of the other great RTS games that are around in the world is, you know, where do you actually spend your time? Because you'll see, you know, lower level players do things that are just frankly mistakes, like going into an engagement and, as you said, just watching the fight kind of take place and maybe doing a little bit of micro, and it's like, okay, yeah, you got like, maybe your army performed 10% better than it would have otherwise. That's considerable. That's 10%. That's good. But behind that, you weren't macroing back at home.
Right.
You weren't. I mean, for these guys, they can do that and macro, you know, any day of the week. But they're adding things on top of that. You know, they're going for drops. They're going for expansions. They're adding all these multi-prong attacks into the mix. And it is a game of priorities. And I feel like in TBT especially, just the way that those priorities kind of, like the domino effect of when things go bad for one player, them just like cascading into more failures and more problems. It's kind of crazy. And speaking of crazy, we have a big divergence in terms of build from what we saw in Game 1 and Game number 2. This entire time, GuMiho has been pumping Reapers and Hellions.
This is basically designed to like completely throw the other guy off. You don't ever make this many Reapers. Yeah. But when you have this many, he's going to elevator it too.
Yeah, he's going to go right to the main base, 4 Hellions and a ton of Reapers.
State, I didn't see this part coming.
Didn't you?
I know. It's like so dumb too. I'm like, oh, of course, yeah, there's 4 Hellions and then all these Reapers. But, I mean, he gets in here. The weakness to an attack like this is a siege tank, which is already sieged up.
And there's another one here too.
Yeah.
All right, engagement's coming in. Medevac actually gets disabled, so GuMiho is going to have to commit to this fight. Some nice grenades coming in. Losing a lot of attack time is Ryung, but I think the firepower is just a little bit too high here for Ryung. GuMiho, he's going to survive with 3 Reapers, but you know, most of this army's been, you know, dispatched without too much of a problem here. A couple of SCVs are going to fall, but it's a lot of factory time. It's a lot of barracks time here for GuMiho.
I don't know how good this actually is, by the way.
I don't think it's that bad either necessarily.
No, it's not terrible, but it's like, you know, you are trying to build up to something to eventually push, right? And it's like, was this really worth it to just get Hellions and Reapers to trade them out and then kill 4 SCVs? I don't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the supplies. GuMiho, he's a couple of workers ahead now. His army is going to be a little bit less nuanced, so it's just kind of a give and a take right there.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And also, if it goes really well, if your opponent's out of position for whatever reason, or maybe they do another build and they just don't see this coming, it's the kind of play that, frankly, has a little bit of kill potential. I mean, it's a low % chance, but if you get into the main base and just kill a ton of SCVs,
yeah,
it's hard to get enough counter damage as the player being attacked to equalize from that position. So I like to see GuMiho mixing it up, especially here in a do-or-die situation, as the winner of this match is going to go on into the winner's match of Group C, and Ryung feeling a little bit of confidence, perhaps from you know, defeating that earlier army. Now going to try and leverage the army advantage that he has here and set up a contain on GuMiho.
Okay, a scan comes here in the main. And we're going to have probably some auto turrets chucked down here. That's going to be a bit of a nuisance, bit of an interruption. He could actually siege up and kill this SCV and maybe force a cancel on the command center, which would be like massive.
Yeah, I think he's just barely not in time to do it.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's like a really unique opportunity where it's like, oh.
It's something that you're not even really expecting to have fall into your lap there. Ryung was busy looking at that Raven, I think, back at home. Is in total 6 more SCVs going down. So GuMiho now with a 5-worker lead overall. Going to try and abuse a little bit of his mobilities. He does have this medevac. Nice pick off there of that Cyclone. And GuMiho just kind of giving Ryung the runaround right now. I'm liking this from him.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good here for Ryung. I mean, he's kind of where he needs to be. That 3rd CC is going to land over here at the 3rd base. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to go on in this game. You know, we've had a couple moments where they poked into each other. It does seem like GuMiho is going to be headed northbound here. There are tanks ready for this. Are there enough medevacs over here? No, there's only 1. I was going to say if he had like 3 medevacs, he might pick up and just drop in the main.
I feel like Ryung might be in some trouble. He has only 4 Marines staceless to the 21 right now of GuMiho. If GuMiho gets a good engagement, is able to force the issue.
Oh, dude, those disables are so good.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, this is not going his way.
Oh.
I take it all back.
Oh, my God, this is so bad.
Yeah, that went
so badly. That was insane.
That was about as poor as that engagement possibly could have gone. 2 siege tanks getting bogged down there by the disable.
Yeah.
getting killed by the siege tanks, and to add insult to injury, a lot of those Marines taking just a ton of damage. And I mean, right now, Ryung still only has 3 Marines. He's adding barracks, he's getting 2 engineering bays, so he's trying to power up a little bit back at home. But, you know, GuMiho has this advantage that I don't think he realizes he has the opportunity to leverage here with this massive mobility count. And Ryung's, to his credit, doing a great job of defending so far.
Yeah, so far so good here.
I mean, if GuMiho doesn't get an opportunity to capitalize on this, that's just another feather in the hat here of Ryung. He might be in a better position going forward than he has the right to be.
Well, 1-1's coming along. GuMiho always seems to get his 4th base up a little bit more quickly. He's certainly more active on the map. That is one way when you're not in great shape, is to kind of just be out on the map. Because, like, if they start to move out at all, you can always kind of counterattack and run in there. Kind of go for that base trade situation. Yeah,
map control, it kind of feels like a resource in the way that you're often able to manifest value out of it. And GuMiho has that in spades right now with his mobility. But this army for Ryung, although it is immobile, it's pretty scary. I mean, that's 2 Ravens, a healthy number of siege tanks, a good number of Vikings as well, now even adding in some Liberators. So this army for Ryung, it's going to be a little bit more of a slow game from him, I think, is what he wants to play. And try and force the issue where GuMiho perhaps feels the need to try and pressure in and pull him apart. And Ryung's going to try and play defense to the best of his ability here. Still only 13 Marines here for Ryung, now up to 17 as those factories are pumping.
We're seeing Ryung start to move out here and try to clear out any spotters. That 4th base is done. We don't have SCVs yet, but I'm sure there's going to be SCVs sent there shortly. And this has been by far the most passive game. Besides the totally bungled attack on the 3rd base from GuMiho, it's kind of slowed down. I think both players are kind of erring on the side of caution here.
Yeah, this is the decider match here. It's a best of 3 tied up 1-1. Both players dropping scans.
Scanning and running from each other. And yeah, I mean, look, at this point in time, we need to either have a 4th command center start and land, or we need to see Ryung attack him.
I think we actually see that there in the natural expansion there for Ryung. He just doesn't really have the freedom.
Oh, you're right. I'm
move.
sorry. Yeah, but he needs to land it, because otherwise he will just start to fall behind here. I mean,
it's difficult to. I mean, you're right. It's just difficult to kind of tread that line of being able to defend everything with a low bio count, because your mobility is not there.
Right.
And also, you know, be able to expand and secure these bases. So he feels like now he's ready as he's approaching max. Got that PTSD from that last
fight. Yeah, I know, that last one, I'm like, this is going so badly. It's just like 2 tanks destroying everything.
All right, so Ryung going to be able to secure this 4th base. And, you know, I'm liking the composition here from Ryung, but, you know, the mobility here for GuMiho, if he's able to find a weakness in Ryung's defense, is it looks like he's going to try to attacking into 4 siege tanks right now. 2 of them immediately get taken out. Army shred coming in, though, and the reinforcements here for Ryung is going to lead to a huge supply swing.
Yeah, that was just shut down so easily. GuMiho losing a big chunk of his army. Because the question now is Ryung going to start to move out on the map? It looks like he is. He's realizing there's an opportunity here. He has to take it. But there's a lot of siege tanks here from GuMiho ready to meet this.
Yeah, 12 siege tanks in total here for GuMiho, but you got to question what the air superiority is going to look like right now, because keep in mind, Ryung has a lot of Vikings. He even has some Liberators in the mix. We'll see how he decides to use those units as supplies dead even. Both players trying to shark around the map and try and find some opportunity to attack, but even supplies like this, it's sometimes difficult to find an opening.
Yeah, it seems like GuMiho, any opportunities, or any, you know, how do I say this? I'm sorry, Ryung, any opportunities he might have had here are kind of gone, at least for the time being. This would be a good catch, though. These Marines going to kill these 2 tanks. That's always a nice little win here.
That's a really nice catch.
And he can even stim down this command center. Now,
it's crazy how much damage Marines do when upgraded.
Oh, it's crazy. and by the way, you got to know when you're killing something like that and you don't see anything coming to fight it, it's like, okay, is he going to counterattack me? It looks like he was, but I think GuMiho got cold feet. He's decided to instead move around over here. This is a lot here for GuMiho.
Another big engagement coming in. Armor shredding missile coming down yet again, but there's not a lot of Marines here for Ryung, so GuMiho going to get the better end of this trade. That entire front siege tank line getting evaporated there by GuMiho as he's now going to drop on the siege tanks to clean them up. In the meantime, Ryung in the main base here of GuMiho going to try and get some counter damage in, but past couple of minutes, good trades going in GuMiho's way.
He's got some Marines here. I'm a little bit worried that this might actually not be enough. I guess the positioning's not exactly ideal. kind of an ant farm setup there, trying to move those Marines through the command center and the barracks down there. And that'll kind of, it was like a log jam there. They weren't able to get through. And so he does clean this up, but I'm more interested in this push out here in the middle of the map and the fact that Ryung should have considerably, no, you know, I did this in the last game. What's the tank count right now?
16 for GuMiho to, I think, 5 for Ryung.
Okay, so that's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a crazy differential right there.
Planetaries are kind of funny because, like, when you know, obviously they can take on, you know, drops of Marines, but if you have a lot of siege tanks, you can't lift the planetary off, you know, so it's like they just shell it. It's kind of an inconvenient structure to be mining with if they can siege up by it. He's not going to go for 12 o'clock. Instead, it looks like he's going to poke into the third base over here.
Yeah, GuMiho's going to try and find an opening, and that's a nice catch there for Ryung. GuMiho with some nice star sense, though. Able to see it coming. Will be able to trade siege tanks almost even there. Actually, in fact, I think 2 for 2, so good trade going GuMiho's way yet again, and he's going to try and find a position where he can siege this planetary, and this might be the opening. I'm not sure if Ryung's going to get here in time.
I mean, there's a lot of infantry. There's, again, not a lot of tanks. So, you know, he's going to send this infantry in here. I'm worried, yeah, this is just going to get wiped before it can even really touch anything.
Yeah, the siege tank count is just unbelievably high for GuMiho right now, and he's only just now aware of this command center coming up here in the top right, as that will get taken away. And maybe Ryung might try another play here with some Raven energy usage, but it feels like he doesn't really have.
Yeah, 3-3 is about to be done, but this feels oh so late, right? Like, remember when there was infantry here for Ryung?
Yeah.
Remember that, like, a little while ago before it all got blown up by that?
I mean, he does still have 50 Marines on the map. I think he's going to go for a big counterattack and just try to reinforce this position here between his natural and his third base.
I think
GuMiho sees this coming.
It's funny because they're both maxed out, but if you look at the mini-map, you would never know it. You would think that GuMiho's like eons ahead here, like how much of it he has everywhere. So we've got that small, sparse, not actually that small, excuse me, a lot of Marines actually coming across the map. They do blow up a command center, but it'll be very quickly be shooed away. And, you know, what I'm looking at on this map really is just the massive amount of command centers that are ringing the bottom and the right side of the map, where I'm looking at Ryung, he's on 3 bases, essentially.
Yeah, I'm feeling like this might be GuMiho's game. Ryung right now only on 1 medevac, as the medevac count for both these players very low, so every stim counts here. We'll see what Ryung decides to do. It feels like he's up against the ropes right now, desperately starving for another base. Back on a 3-base economy. GuMiho just going to pull back away from this position. Actually, funny, the missile turret blocking the pathing there, almost sending them into death.
This is definitely a game you could go back and like look at again to try to understand TVT, because this is like a very, I don't know, it's been a weird TVT. I feel like, you know, we've had these two guys push and attack into each other, but there's been a lot more stuff that's sort of going on in the map. It does seem like GuMiho is a little bit better at like the macro game juggling aspect, where he just sort of, he has more crops growing or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Here we go, big attack up here. The siege is a little bit slow right now.
Yeah, GuMiho actually on siege, so some nice connections here from Ryung, and this is going to equalize things a little bit. Clutch disables also coming down, and boy, if Ryung ever needed a win, that's one of them, because supplies right now going to equalize, but on the other side of the map tasteless, GuMiho, he's not going to take that damage unpunished.
I mean, this is the problem, I think, right now for Ryung, is that he just doesn't have enough of the map. Oh my god, that's almost mined out.
Yeah, he's really desperate for another base.
Yeah, so that's the problem, is we can watch the two armies collide into each other, but it's really about the resources that GuMiho is soaking up all over the map.
Yeah, that was a great trade there for Ryung, but I'm not sure. Actually, another nice armor shredding turret. We'll see. GuMiho going to try and reinforce back at home. Actually, surprised he's going to take this fight, as reinforcements do come in. GuMiho, I feel like he just needs a little bit of timing to solidify here, but Ryung, I mean, he's just so broken. I almost feel like if he can't gain ground here, we might see him tapping out just because of how bad the income situation is back at home for him. He's lifting now the main command center here to the 4th base.
Basically, I mean, the game's going on, but we got to point out, Ryung is like 1 loss in a fight from probably losing this game.
Yeah, and the army supply is 82 to 59. It's not going his way.
And look, this was an inevitability as long as you have this many expansions up here. I think Ryung was a little bit too focused on winning big fights, where GuMiho was just actually focused on like kind of the more StarCraft mass expanding kind of feature of the game.
Yeah, GuMiho just going to deflect this attack over here at the 3 o'clock position, and So far, so good for GuMiho. It feels like right now he just needs to kind of tighten ship, not make any more mistakes like that one bad engagement that happened in the middle of the map, and this should be his series. We'll see, though. Ryung does have some potential counterplay. He's going to go for it, but, I mean, GuMiho, you already see him kind of anticipating this, getting these siege tanks in position at the same time, moving towards 12 o'clock on the map with a big group of Marines.
You know, it's funny because it seems like at both the far center right and the bottom left, these are just naked bases.
Home.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? It seems like at this point in time, GuMiho is like 170 support. Yeah, that's it. GG.
And GuMiho going to take the series here against Ryung in what was a very entertaining and oft-times kind of quirky TVT.
I enjoyed it. I really do like TVT. GuMiho just, you know, I guess game 2 is a really weird one, but, you know, it's forgivable. I guess that's why we have best of 3s, right?
Yeah.
You can have that disaster game. We've all been there where it's like, I don't know what's going on, what I'm trying to do. In the end, though, it was a win there for GuMiho. He's going to be going up against Dark then in the winners match, so one of those two is going to move on.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun series, too. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of mech out of GuMiho there in that TBZ.
And if we see that mech, I wouldn't be surprised if Dark moves on and wins, that match.
You're probably right, honestly.
Yeah.
But if anybody in the world can do it, it's going to be GuMiho.
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to it. I certainly welcome it. But I think Dark's kind of the shoe-in here. And let's not forget, we almost have no Zergs in this GSL.
Yeah.
We don't have any Zergs in the round of 8 yet, and we only have 2 Zergs in the round of 16. Wait, do we have a Zerg?
I think we have one. We have one Zerg, right? It was
Solar?
Yeah, I think it was Solar. I'm like putting myself on the spot right now.
How dumb are we? We don't even know.
DRG lost on day 1, and then Solar qualified on day 2.
That's right.
Yeah, so 1 out of the 3 Zergs.
The point I'm trying to make is there's not a lot of Zergs. Okay, so. Yeah, shortly here we're going to be going to a break, and then we're going to come back with that winners match. This also means that it's going to be Ryung versus Stats in the losers match. Anyways, short break, guys. Don't go away. We'll be right back.